here we are at the sundown. Well, it's almost sundown, so another Shabbat. So yeah, give thanks for you know give thanks for life, and of course, giving thanks to the Most High for another beautiful strong. Give thanks to Yuya, for creating, this space for us to gather together and build. So this strong I wanted to build on our piece is the effort. This strong I just wanted to build on vision, right? And of course, I'm waiting for everyone to trickle in. I'm still, energy is still coming down from this strong. Um, Give thanks is the Yahweh. Yeah, energy is still coming down from this strong, so I'm still, in wind down mode. Sometimes it's kind of rough trying to wind down after moving around all strong. Um, but it's very necessary, this time of rest, because it allows us to reconnect with not only each other, but reconnect and tap into our source. Peace, Ima Yakira Eden, peace, Akira. You know, yeah, willfully you're all doing well. But just wanted to ask, a question. I think Sister Morea, she did the Shabbat Bill last strong. She had asked you all, how you were all doing. And it's good to hear from, everyone how the strong has been going, how they've been progressing. So, I'm gonna pose the same question. How is everyone? How have you been moving? Did you accomplish anything that you set out to accomplish? Did you accomplish more? Did you accomplish less, but you still learned a lot more than you thought you would? Yeah, just some feedback from how your strong has been going. Yeah, peace. Okay, everyone's trickling in. Peace, Dr. Gertrude. Peace, Chief Yuya. Peace, peace. Peace, Emmanuel. Yeah, but this strong it's been a good strong. We've had a lot of very powerful builds from our first day build with Akizak. We were building on the Mana principle, and he touched on a lot of very key points there. I definitely recommend, if you haven't heard it, go over to Clubhouse. And if you have heard it, go back and revisit it, because it's sort of the theme for this whole strong, right? Going back to source material and ensuring that you keep tapping into your source material, because it's very easy to try to skip around, jump around, skim certain parts, and try to get to the part that you want. This is the reason I bought the book. You pick up the book in the library, you skim to the middle, you get the piece you want, then you put it back, not realizing that even though a lot of times it is padding around it, or there's a lot of fluff around it, more often than not, what you see in the book, everything in the book, like it's like a matrix almost, right? I said matrix, that might pop up, but yeah, it's like matrix, and everything supports that one thing that you wanted to just come and cherry pick, And there's nothing wrong with extrapolating or extracting information, but understanding things in its entirety is what kind of qualifies you to be able to extract, because you understand the nature of it, which is something that we did on our fourth day, right? Our study session, Wednesday. We really learned to explore and really dig deep into different, I guess we could say different centuries. We were looking at different time periods and how they all intersect with each other, right? Our question for the study session was a continuation of is the Book of Romans fit? And the exploration that we had to go through with that was greater than all of us. It gave us a greater understanding of time and history than any of us kind of bargained for, and still didn't get to the root of it. But the exploration was edifying too, because it's sort of like the book. Like you understand the context of what's going on around the time. which is 3 study tools that Chief gave us, those 3 questions. Who's speaking, who's being spoken to, and what's happening at the time. So I'm just gonna scroll through. I see that a couple of people just came in. Just screaming out, shaking it. Okay, so we have Ramik. Peace, Ramik. Peace, talk to your speakers. Peace, Akia Isdale. Peace, Darian Lampley. Peace, MGC Randy. Yeah, man. Peace, everyone who's coming through, entering the space. Ima Yakira Eden says, my strong was filled with the charge to be more self-caring. Dana was able to do more self-care. So that was what I drew from the balance and peaceful goodness. That is what I drew from, is balance and peaceful goodness. Okay, so we were able to relax a bit more. Moving with a lot of tension can make us less effective, but it can also damage us over a long period of time. Sometimes, like you have one of those days where you're running around and you think everything's cool, and you're like, I have so much energy, and the second you sit down, it's like blackout. Just crash, because you didn't realize what was holding you up wasn't like strength; it was like tension. You couldn't loosen up because you knew as soon as you sat down and dozed off for a second, you'd be out for half a day. Chief Yuya says the strong has been a bit more depleting than usual. Season changes and global economic disasters on the horizon are felt in the aura, long distance, but still empowered and still shining. All right, that's good to hear. Yeah, sometimes I wonder about that. Seasonal changes affect me different depending on the season as well. Especially like during the fall, like I guess that's what I call it, the fall, right? During the autumn season, like my energy does tend to dip, like the first half of September, and then after that it's fine, because I like the climate, especially over here in the Bahamas. I like the climate in the fall, but that first half of that month, I don't know. I see some more shares. Give thanks for the question. My strong was filled with preparation and learning to respect and also maintain boundaries. Yeah, that's like exactly, I feel that's a big one. Like it's a constant thing. It's not something that you can one and done, right? And we'll get on that topic later. But it's not something that you can one and done. Like you can't just plant your flag and go back inside and think everything's going to be cool. People always try to test you. Like Charlie Murphy, you have habitual line steppers. Peace, Abu Yaram. Peace, sister on the radio. Peace, Akizak. Peace, peace. Peace, Mu Hotep. Hotep to you. Okay, Imanaya, this strong has been productive. Lots of running around, getting things done. Okay, cool. Yeah. Ross says my strong was very eye-opening and allowed me to see major flaws in my movements. It showed me the work needed to be put in to ensure success. This is progress in my eyes. Okay, so it's more eye-opening. So your perspective was adjusted, let's say. Willfully, it was more aligned with the truth. Alana Plaza, peace to you. Ramik says my strong has been filled with a lot of yang energy. Giving thanks for Shabbat. Okay, what you been doing? You've been fighting, hustling. What's going on? Akizak says my strong has been cool. Getting some stuff for. Okay, getting some stuff for school. All right, Mr. Too Cool for School is going to school. All right, brothers. Yeah, my strong has been good too. I've been moving. You're not. My strong has been all right. I've been I've been putting a lot more out there in terms of what it is I do. I'm usually pretty private, but there's a balance that needs to be struck between the me, the private person, and me, the brand. So I've been trying to distinguish that a lot more. And it's interesting. I've been sharing a lot of Anu Nation information on my Instagram because I usually just put it in the stories. But when I started making like posts about it, people just kept flocking, and they've been flocking around the Supreme Mathematics information. So I got like 3 or 4 Peace Guards and a couple of messages. And I was like, I didn't know I knew all these 5%ers or people who were familiar with 5%ers. So that opened the door for some builds. So it showed me that I told myself last strong I was gonna stop saying so much. But it showed me that there's a lot to gain from giving, So sort of like that yang energy that Brother Ramik was talking about. Giving more brings more to you. And of course, we'll get to that later too. Abhayada Ram says, my strong was blessed, living the medicine on gaining more focus, realizing that the neglect of simple areas from inner distractions can cause major issues. Yeah. Yeah, man. Sister on the radio says, my strong pushed me in terms of scheduling and changing the way I speak. Okay, good. I think there's more to Abhayada. Learning the power more of double and triple checking. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one for me too. Being able to double check or triple check my work. It's not being able to, but taking the time to do it, conscientiously, as opposed to getting on that final push and being like, okay, I'm done, but you're not done yet because the final push is actually it has a lot to do with what we're speaking about tonight, revision, right? Going back over what you studied and going back over your work and making sure that everything is in alignment with what you originally set out to do or in alignment with the vision, right? And excuse me for 1 second, it got dark a little earlier than I expected it to. So I'm just gonna hit the light. Okay. All right, sorry about that. But yeah, being able to double and triple check your work is something that helps you to move in a much more efficient manner. It feels like it takes up a lot of time, but it actually saves you a lot of time. It saves you the headache of going back and fixing the issues that not triple check or double checking your work kind of creates. Peace can virus. Dr. Gertrude says, my strong has been planning a new work schedule by delegating more duties to others. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that definitely helps as well. That was something I had to get used to. Ironically, even though I don't double and triple check my work, like I have this perfectionist mindset that if I want to do something, like it's not going to be right unless I do it. So it's sort of like an egoic contradiction. So your ego wants to be in control of everything, but you don't want to take responsibility for everything. You just want to feel like you're in control. So it's something that really freed me up to do things more thoroughly, like Abhayada was saying, because you can trust others to do things, but you also have to trust yourself to give clear instructions. I need this thing to be done this way. Even though I may not have the time to explain why it's got to be done this way, just trust that this is what it is. And then you could come back and do the double and triple checks. That might be your only work now. So that's the key piece, Dr. Gertrude. Top tier speaker says this strong was themed with lessons in responsibility. There was some struggle, but it was successful overall. Okay, okay, cool. Yeah, man. So it's good to hear that everyone has been moving and doing their thing. And it seems to be like you're growing in the process. Even you all who just came to the space who may not be, as familiar. The question was, how was you strong? Or how was your week? Or what did you do? Did you have any progress? Any setbacks, any challenges? So yeah. Rami, yeah, I asked about the yang energy. Ramik says, I experienced a lot of body movement, stretching, working, helping others. I also did more scheduling. I took more notes this strong. I usually try to hold it all in my mind. Yeah, that's yeah, that doesn't always work. It seldom works because I think Chief has said before, we don't really retain as much as we think we do. And that's kind of how I got through high school, honestly. Like my grades weren't the best, but I was like, if I don't remember it, it's not important. Because I hated taking notes. Because anytime I started taking notes, I would be thinking as I'm taking notes, my time would run out. So I didn't like the time limit I had for taking notes. So I was like, whatever, I'm just not gonna write. I'll just remember it. Borrow someone else's notes, and when it's time for the test, and that's it. Um, but yeah, that kind of speaks to what Chief had mentioned about it's sort of a lazy scholarship where you think you just one shot something. Okay, I go through this class or I go through this course. I go over the information once and then that's it. And that's what we're talking about this evening. We're sort of building on not sort of we're building on the idea and the concept of revision, right? It's like read is to repeat or go back, or do something again, and vision. So you're looking at it again, but you're looking at the vision again. You're looking at your source material again. So um, if Yap came to me and said, "Okay, you're going to open a new chain of restaurants, and it's going to give people healthy food, but you're going to be utilizing an abundance of greens, right? And you're going to have a farm, and it's going to supply all of your chains. And you also have a chain of farms that not only supplies your restaurant, but supplies everybody else. So that's the vision he gives me. And then during my 6-day cycle, through all of the running around and dealing with um, getting seeds and building the farm and tilling the ground and delegating tasks, making sure everybody's on point, and then going back over people's tasks and saying, okay, this is right, this is right, this is right. In order to go back over and check those people I delegated, I have to have a clear image or a clear understanding of what that vision was, the original vision, right? So if I try to remember it and there's like bits and pieces where it's kind of fuzzy, then we got issues because I'll be tempted to fill in those blanks. And where I really had this thought, I was reviewing Chief's segment on vision, and Chief had basically lined up the same or similar sort of scenario, but it's kind of strange because everybody built on a similar thing this strong. Chief did a segment on toxic or chronic toxicity, right? Chronic toxicity. That's Chief Yuya podcast episode 66. And he had spoken about the things that we accept in our environment, right? That might be poisoning us, whether it's the clothes that we wear, the food that we eat, what we eat our food out of, what we cook our food in, where we sleep, our cars, not to mention, the culture that we surround ourselves with, all of these toxic things. and there was like it was like a call to go back to basics or really scrutinize and look deeper into what it is that we interact with on a daily basis. And then we had Aki Zak, who dealt with the amount of principle, right? Was principle. Principle is the first thing, right? Principle is the most important thing. So when you see some of the scriptures that he had referenced, whether it was in Genesis or whether it was in Ephesians, he was speaking about like studying, right? Studying, going back to the source and making sure that you're firm on what it is that you stand on, right? So you got to go back and revise. Similar to the preface that he had talked about too. You got to read this book daily, out loud. You know? So you're just solidifying the vision. Even at the end of study session, he said that there's a greater need for integration of the information that we're going through. So that integration comes through revision. It also comes through doing and living. But you got to know what it is you're doing and living. So you got to revise it, and you got to make sure that you're tight. And then Kama Sutra, you know, on Yom Kamishi or Thursday night, we had Sister Yafe breaking down Kama Sutra, Tale of Love, you know, and as she broke it down and she spoke to, you know, the structure of the actual work, the actual Kama Sutra, she had basically explained that Kama Sutra, there's different aspects to it. It's not just sex. It's not just positions that you could try out. Put your leg over here, you know, wrap it around my ankle. You know, it's not like that. It's that comes later. That actually comes last. That's the last thing you do. But if you pay attention to, you know, the colloquial definition of Kama Sutra, they put the last thing first, and then they tell you that's all there is to it. But you actually have to learn ethics. You know, you have to learn morality. And as you work through different aspects, you know, work through the ethics and the Dharma and all of the different steps, then you can actually handle that sort of physical intimacy in a responsible way, in an informed way. But if you go straight to that, then it's gonna be kind of it's going to be poisonous, right? Chifa did a segment on that. I think there's a short post on Instagram as well. When he said, you know, if I give you only a piece of something, you know, it's going to be poison because you're not getting it in its fullness. So just going over the revision aspect of things and understanding that you got to go back and reread. And as you reread, you live it and you edify it, right? Similar to today's mathematics, knowledge, wisdom, all being born of understanding. You have the knowledge, your wisdom is the action or the manifestation of it. And after you've gone through the steps of acting on that knowledge, now you have the understanding, right? So just a quick question for everyone, you know, just to slow down and let me get into the chat. How often do you study your source material? How often do you dig into the Angway, or you dig into the 14 keys, or you dig into even the Bible, or how often do you meditate and tap into that source? You know, so that was my question, because like I was saying earlier, through the 6 day cycle, you know, you do what you need to do on the earth. You do your external work. And then on Shabbat, you know, which is where we're getting ready to move into, that's when you actually do your internal work. That's where you can reconnect the Most High. You can re-edify yourself with your studies and the way you move, right? So how often do you tap into that source material? Yeah, so I'll keep that there and give you all time to respond. Okay. There's also something else that Brother Zach had touched on, and it's why revision is so important. He had brought up Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, and this is when the serpent came to Hava or Eve, and he was like, "Is it true that you know we come with this slick talk? Is it true that God said you can't eat of this tree? That's to die." And she was in hip on game. You know, Eve was in up on game where she was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna respond with what I said. I know what was said, and what he said doesn't match up with what I was told. So I'm gonna step back." But she went off of what he was saying to her, and that's when things sort of went awry. Right? Siaki Zach says, between the podcast and Wait or Building with Brothers, I would say daily. All right, cool. Thanks. Top tier speakers is on a daily for me. On a daily for me. Okay, cool. Jivuya says, I studied material, I source those teachers. I guess it's teachings from every day. I dig in multiple times throughout the day. It's a constant showing and proving the knowledge to be righteous and relevant. Okay, thanks. Manaya says, I read scripture the Anu way, pieces, and listen to podcasts and videos daily. Okay, yeah, Faye, every day. All right. Yakira Eden, Bible studies are daily, Anu way podcast, archive segments, Kawatha. It's a daily cross-reference against what I'm reading in scripture. Balancing the two brings forth deeper validity in many instances. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, all of them I can relate to. Chief was giving us like he's put us on a lot of game, and it's like sometimes it's like my plate is full. It's like when you're a child, you're given a large plate. You're looking at it, it's like, okay, I got some of this, I got some of that, I got some of that. But the person who put the plate in front of you, they actually care about you. So everything on the plate is good. Whatever you pick up is good. Better clean your plate, but everything is good. So this is one of the beautiful things about this annual experience. The information that you're given has been tried and proven, and there's a further refining, right, of every day. Akira says, I will admit I tend to put reading to the side and will only study the book 2 to 3 times a week. Okay? Get the numbers up. It helps because when you're faced with a situation and you may not understand what the answer is, what does your culture say? You can always go back to that. What does your culture say? What do your elders say? What do your brothers and sisters say? Even each other is like a reference material as well. You dig into the way and you read it out loud, but you also are charged to discuss this with your brothers and sisters. We deliberate on the truth, and you can't really get that in a vacuum. You gotta build on it with one another. Akitak says it's like the old saying, the more I learn, the less I seem to know. Exactly. Abba Yadaram says, in truth, it was in the recent past that daily readings of the Anu Way aloud was reinstituted in my daily ritual. There's a clear difference in the psyche. Yeah, good. Good. Akiramik says, daily with the readings, podcasts, and videos, I can say I learn better with repetition. You know what? We all do. That's the point. You don't pick it up once and you're just so brilliant that you don't need it anymore. You gotta revisit. You gotta try and prove it as well. So as you're trying and improving it, you go back to the source and you're like, okay, this is how it's supposed to work. Like I have never looked at a manual. Let's say if I'm putting together an IKEA set or something, I've never looked at a manual once. Like, okay, I got it, and I can just put the whole thing together. I'm not that smart. Maybe someone out there like that, but not me. I gotta keep picking that up and keep looking at it, hold it upside down. You know, where's this part? I can't find this part. Um, Zach Latimer says, definitely paraphrasing, but it's it's something like that. Yeah, yeah. You know, we got you. um, I think the phrase is, the more that I know, the more I know nothing at all. He Ramik says, oh yeah, no doubt, Akizak. Chief Yuya says, better to have a full plate than be crying in the rain at the restaurant window, dreaming and hoping for a place at the table in the by and by. Exactly, exactly. Or standing by standing by the back door waiting for the kitchen staff to throw out the trash to see if they threw away any food. Abu Yadaram says, though there is daily application from other studies of Anu thought in the intentional inner work during solitude, I'm sorry, though there is daily application from the studies of Anu thought, okay, Anu thought, the intentional inner work daily, I mean, during solitude is something to be done daily to provide clarity. Okay, so you're saying the knowledge acquisition or reading is something that you do daily, but the wisdom is something that that's needed for clarity. Okay, so that's the knowledge and wisdom, and as you apply the wisdom, you get the understanding. Um, okay, Brother Darian says daily with the reading, spending more time with podcasts throughout the day. Okay. Actually, I want to hear more from, our initiates, Brother Darian and Brother Rami. How's your experience been so far with the information? Like, can you say that you've seen some change? Or I noticed you've seen some change, but what kind of changes have you seen, since you started your initiation process or your sponsorship process? Yeah, I'm interested in learning how your experience has been so far. Ima Akuya says, I listen to podcasts daily. My reading and studying 3 days a week. Sister Sovereign Each says, I study the Bible daily and always find my way to several related texts. Since being given the lost books, I have been pulling on the audio and reading of those texts. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of hole fillers. It's like, well, what happened next? It's like, okay, this is what happened. It helps it helps to put that collection of work into perspective. Chief Yuya says you could listen to things once and then ruminate for a lifetime if you weren't existing around spiritual men and mental landmines. Sixth society strips you of your righteous focus, so reinforcement is needed. This is true. This is true. Yeah, man. Just being surrounded by what we're surrounded by. There's so many distractions, and then when you're speaking, even your speech is like damning you. There's certain things that you try to avoid saying because you know you don't want the headache or you don't want to seem a certain way. But that actually brings up an interesting point, Chief. I saw there's something in the Anu way that I thought was interesting because I was looking in the Anu way for like vision, right? Just the word vision. And right before it says that the men of Anu are the visionaries of Anu, there's this descriptor of men, and it says we are opposed to anything that diminishes the freedom of men to my glasses. Freedom of men to act and think in a way as originally intended by the originator of life and form. We are opposed to, read it again, we are opposed to anything that diminishes the freedom of men to act and think in the way as originally intended by the originator of life and before. And I thought that was super key, and it helped to edify what was touched on at the beginning of the podcast, episode 66. And Chief was building with, he said he had a conversation, right? A good conversation with someone. And there was like a difference in perspective, and they were deliberating on it. And there was a point that's made about the fact that men or manhood or being able to speak plainly to something is like outlawed. Like there's only certain things I can say, and if I say what it really is, then all of a sudden now I have some sort of phobia. Now I'm afraid of something existing when it's like, nah, it's just the existence of this thing. It goes against what I am. So I have to speak to what it is. I can't just act like I can accept it because it distorts my nature. You know what I mean? So it's a very key thing, going back to being surrounded by landmines. You're surrounded by these things that you're told to accept. There was a Lupe Fiasco line in his song Mural Jr., I think. And he was like, I professionally accept what I ethically reject. So there's like this dichotomy of I have to accept something in order to be professional, but honestly, I don't accept it. I reject it based on my ethics and based on my principles. But now I have to sort of turn a blind eye to it at the very least in order to continue to do what I do. So Abu Cruz says, awesome example. Why not apply the same discipline in all areas? Utilize that G energy of quality. I think I'm missing the context. Yeah, I went off on not off on a tangent, but yeah, I was building on what Chief's comment made me think of. Chief says it makes me think of that soy. And then Aki's says made me think of that say. Makes me think of the say. I'm not familiar with that. It's talking about. Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Isaac says I keep sending stuff too soon, just like I keep shaking the camera. Kira Eden says hole fillers and rabbit hole following too. Yeah, yeah. You fill in. You get like 2 answers and like 10 questions for every 2 answers you get. Akira Meek says I used to try to put things together without reading the manual. To no surprise, I would always be brought back to square one. All I had to do was read and walk in it. Exactly. Or maybe you get it put together and now you have 10 extra screws and you don't know where they're supposed to go. You just put them in the drawer and hope it doesn't fall apart when you put your big screen TV on top of it. Okay, so Sister Sovereign Eat says, reviewing the Anu way is always ongoing. It's like no matter how you try to focus on other texts, I always find scripture or phrase that brings me back to the Anu way. Yeah. You can actually read the Anu way and you can see like some of the spaces where it was based on. And it's like, there's a scripture about that. And you start to realize it's like, oh, okay, this wasn't just someone sitting, someone sitting on a bench and just writing something out, or someone sitting at a computer and just typing. All of this is based on something. All of this is based on those texts. Like Chief said, he goes back and he studies those original texts to edify what he's doing, and to refine it. Sister Yafe says, I have to listen to some podcasts and segments several times before some things click. I am still going back to old segments as the info stays relevant and current. Good. there's an interesting phenomenon, like how they say you can't step in the same river twice. As you're learning and growing, you're realizing how much value is actually there to be extracted, and then you turn it into something afterwards, and then you utilize it, and that gives you even more value, and it also brings value to people around you. So yeah, man, it's good vibes, as Albert Yadaram would say, good vibes. Akizak says makes me think of the saying, where the attention goes, energy flows. Oh, good grief. All right, you finish fighting with that keyboard. Get a new one with your cool school supplies. Okay, I think I'm catching up now. Anu Radio says, oh, okay, yeah, remember to hit like, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Support the thing. Aki Cruz, I'm sorry, Aki Abba Yadaram says, oh, the sixth energy of equality. Utilize the sixth energy of equality. Okay, I got you. When you were talking about the example of IKEA manuals. Yeah, man, I was helping a friend of mine move into an apartment, and that shelf, boy. That shelf, like, if you try to put it together off of your own understanding, and then you try to take it apart, and do it again, you actually sort of you don't really damage yourself, but if you're not careful, you'll fall into, like, it's almost like you make a groove in your mind. You carve a groove in your mind. And even though you're looking at the manual, you still kind of want to go back to what you did before, even though you did it wrong. And you did it wrong. Okay. All right. You're talking to Yakira Eden. Okay. We're talking about Magical Journey. Oh, the keyboard whooping your butt. All right, we'll get it, Akizak. But yeah, man, Akizak was talking about also with even the sin lies at the door. It goes back to what Chief had spoken to about being in the sick culture, right? Or being around cultural landmines. Like Akizak was making the point that, I had friends before I came into Anu, or I used to do this before I came into Anu. I can't just discard them now. I can't just leave them behind. But if you're moving in a direction, if you're saying that, okay, I'm moving in this direction, if you're moving in a direction and you're clear that you're moving in this direction, and you've received the vision, you understand the vision, and you're moving based on the vision, if those people aren't ready to make that pivot with you, then it's not like you're throwing them away. You're going somewhere, and they decided not to go with you. Like, that's all it is. But your attachment is telling you that you should feel guilty about moving in a way that's healthy for you, because people don't want to move in a way that's healthy for them. Or maybe, they got a different path than you do. Chifuya says, your gift is your ability to provide energy through attention. But wicked people have learned to divert your attention from your purpose to enliven their own lifeless agendas, religions, and beings. This is true. Yeah, man. You think about that with advertising. You have ads on. Okay. You have ads on Facebook. You have ads on Instagram, YouTube. Like, YouTube ads are like super aggressive now. They don't even let you skip. And almost every video has like a guaranteed ad. And I actually noticed a difference between YouTube in the States and YouTube in the Bahamas. Like, I guess our demographic isn't as valuable because you can't watch nothing on YouTube without seeing an ad over there. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. But that's what these whenever someone has an ad, they're not selling the person, they're exchanging you. They're like, okay, if you're watching this thing on YouTube, people are actually paying us to see what you watch, and then they know what to sell you. and I just want to divert your attention away from whatever it is you're doing, so not engaging is a good way to do it. But then how do you get like your news? How do you get your information? You gotta find it somewhere, right? So everywhere you go, you see ads, no matter what, and the ads are always tailored to you. No two people's computer screens look the same, even though they go on the same website, because the algorithm is set to where whatever you do, those cookies follow you. Cookie monsters. They be out here, cookie monsters. But yeah, man, give thanks, for all your responses. And there was a section in the Anhui called Vision, right? Vision. And I did not put it up on the screen, but I'll just read it from the copy over there. Our vision: to build a spiritual fellowship of faithful adherents who live daily life according to the principles of Anu and make a healthy impact on the world. Right? So that's the vision. And if you're not careful, again, you could do like the yeah, man, speak. Yeah, if you're not careful, you could do that IKEA thing where you try to put it together yourself, without referencing the vision or without referencing the manual. And something else the chief was speaking about on the section on vision. He says the vision you receive depends on your obedience, because you don't always get the first, you don't always get the full vision at first, which sometimes annoys people. Chief would often give the example of people saying, "No, give it to me, Chief. Give me everything. I can take it." Just tell me. Like, I feel like you're holding back. It's like, yeah, because you've shown what you're able to receive now. So now that obedience has to kick in, where this is what I'm giving you. Go and do what you need to do with what I've just given you, as opposed to your ego saying, "Give me the whole thing," and now you're sitting there looking at this plate. All of this food on this plate is good for you, but now you're intimidated by the amount of food, so you don't eat anything, and you just let it rot. And it's something that happens with a lot of people, where they sort of reflect our initial laziness when we came in, and you give them some information. It's like, oh, this is good. This will help you. This speaks exactly to your issue, and then like you don't hear from them for a couple of days, couple of strongs, and you're like, and they like, hey, what's up? And it's like, yeah, did you ever get that problem solved? It's like, nah, I didn't get it sorted out. It didn't work out. It's like, oh, okay. Was the segment that I sent you helpful? Well, I didn't get a chance to sit down and listen to it, but I didn't have time. It's like, you have this issue and you say that you really need to solve it, but you don't have time to explore an option to solve the issue, but sometimes you receive something and you don't deal with what it is that you received there, but you want more. Give me more. Like Maya, like Maya in Kama Sutra. No matter what she got um, clothes that were worn by the princess, but she framed it in the way she framed it in her mind was, these are hand-me-downs. Everything I get from the princess is hand-me-downs. You're a slave. You know what I mean? But she doesn't see it that way. It's like, I want this. I want this. It's like, nobody cares what you want. You don't know what you want. Take what it is you're getting now and make the best of it. And you'd be surprised at how far that takes you. But you don't trust that there are forces at work and there's a lot of energy that's moving around you that you don't see. A lot of things that's being orchestrated in the background that you aren't aware of. But I want. TPS says, eventually everyone leaves everyone. You came into the world and you left your precognitive fellowship. When you graduate your body, there will be one person walking that aisle to accept your new form. Yeah, it's like, unless it's like energy that I created or took on. Like we didn't come here with no roommates. You know, there may be like the concept of an egg bake. You know, you have your spiritual family that you connect to and that help you out. But there's your mind. Like is you and your mind, or you are the mind, and you're processing this earthly experience. You know, and it's helping you to create that new form. But your new form is built by your walk. You know, a large part of that is built by your walk. What you do with what you get, and it's like the nine. You know, so you go from knowledge to born, and what you experience throughout that walk, it really it really shows your character, and it shows you like what kind of form you're going to be taking on next. And you may not like what it is that you see. Like Maya at the end of the movie, she was walking off like eventually everyone leaves. Everyone, you know, she was walking off into the dust like she got nothing. She had what she needed. She got her mind. She was getting some powerful teachings. She could have been alright with that, but I want. It always go back to the desire, pulling you away from what it is that you're supposed to be doing, or that distraction pulling you away from your purpose, because it's usually desire based. You know, Chief, you had touched on how most of what we see in media is like root chakra based. You know, it's not necessarily something that's going to help you to ascend. And even if it seems like that, if it comes in that flavor, it's still like um, it's still prefaced with a desire. Do you want, or have you ever felt like, you know, it's still based on those lower chakras? Um, Powerful, yeah, yeah. You know, Aki Rao says, forcing myself to be accountable has been important when looking at what it is I need to do. Often I thought it, often thought of it as an easy task, but but I've been able to see that thought in itself was foolish. Okay, okay, you thought it was easy, but you're able to see that that thought in itself was foolish. Why would you say it's foolish, Akira? Yeah, I'll wait for that. Why would you say that thought in itself is foolish? Okay, Ima, top tier speaker says, when I used to watch TV, I used to always get up and walk away when the commercials or advertisements came up. People thought I was weird for that. Watching it always felt too hypnotizing. Yeah, man. Um, Here's the thing too. When the commercial comes on, sometimes when you get up to walk away, you go straight to the kitchen and you get something else to consume while you're waiting to consume something with your eyes. Yeah, that's too deep for the intro. Uh, Sister Yafe, Maya, getting stuck in the illusions of our delusions. Right. The illusions, you know, you're getting stuck on the appearance of things, you know, which, you know, the three in Supreme Mathematics, the understanding, you're seeing things for what they are and not necessarily what they appear to be. You know, you're not getting fooled by those illusions because you've gone through the process. You know, I got taught this thing, I got all the information, and then I had to do it, which was rough. And now I understand what it is. You know, you can't like fool me. You know, you can't come to me like the serpent in the garden, because like I actually had to grow this tree, you know, and I was told not to touch anything on it, as opposed to oh, I actually had to tend to this tree, and it wasn't like something I just saw and I was told like not to touch. Akira says, coming into Anu, I've been able to see my dysfunction while also having individuals who I can speak to who are willing to see your problems and help guide you to do the work. and fix your dysfunction. Yeah, I can relate to that. And the thing about that is like dysfunction doesn't come in one layer. It's like the what I was speaking to earlier. The chief was mentioning like your education isn't like a one-off thing. You can't just take a course or take a lesson and be done with it. You have to continuously study. So there's like layers upon layers upon layers of dysfunction that we've built up over our lives. You can't get rid of it like with one conversation or in the course of 2 or 3 years. You know, if you're 18 years old, that's 18 years of crust that you've got to deal with. Plus the procrastination that you may have or the resistance that you may have in dealing with it on top of that. You know, so it's something that you have to continuously work against, you know, or work to reform, we should say. And your community is there to help you, sure. So that part is definitely very true. Your community is there to support you. Exactly. Yeah, I know. Same here. Walk straight to the kitchen. You know, sometimes I'd be waiting for commercials. Akira says, working towards consistent results of success comes after consistent failures. Getting up after every failure is not a task for the average. It is necessary though. You got to keep walking, you know, or stay there. That's your two options: get up and keep walking, or just lie there and take it, you know. But yeah, the failures become less consistent when you have people who like Aki Zaka often says, you know, which Chief often says, like, gotta go up the line. You know, men learn from older men who are further along on the path. You know, that's the privilege of people who are much younger coming in now, because you have older people who have, or elders who have actually walked that path, and they're like, don't, like, I've been there, this is what happened, I've done that, this is what happened, I've done that, I actually succeeded at that, here's how you can succeed, or this is another route that I could have taken that would have brought me more success, this is a route that I took that brought me failure. If I was listening to my elders, I could have actually went straight ahead, and then, you know, they can guide you through that path because they've traversed that terrain, and there may be certain parts of it that they haven't traversed, and that's where you come in now. You know, you can explore where they maybe didn't get a chance to. Brother Darian says, the experience for me, nothing but good. Still breaking down bad habits, but in this short time, it's all been growth. I give thanks for all the work that has been put in. Okay, you know, give thanks for that. You know, testimony that share. Yeah, okay, definitely of you know, people relating happy around me, you know. But yeah, what's your experience, brother Rami? You know, you don't get off with a ditto. Yeah, man. But also going into the vision, there was a verse after the you know, the vision of the Anu way. There is, like I said, most of them have like a verse associated with them. This comes right after that section, and it says, where this is Proverbs 29 or Proverbs 29 verse 18, where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Right. So I went a little further down in that passage, because again, your vision comes through your obedience, right? And where there's no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Why is he happy? Because he's in alignment with the truth, and he's moving constantly with the truth. You know, he's moving constantly with the evolution of what this law is, you know, aligning him with. But a little later down in that same chapter, verse 29, it says, an unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is an abomination to the wicked. You know, so when I saw that, I started thinking about the concept of lukewarmness. You know what the vision is, but you kind of like two-stepping around what you know you need to do. You know, you standing in front of the office that you know you need to walk into, but you're trying to hold the door open so other people can walk in first just to see if it's safe. You know, it's that sort of thing where you're not truly being obedient. You're sort of holding back halfway, waiting for things to fail, and that holding back halfway actually, or those half-hearted attempts actually secure your failure, because you start realizing like, I just missed the boat by 2 seconds. You know, when I was supposed to get on that boat. You know, I thought the boat wasn't going to be there. I was told to be here at a certain time. I dragged my feet, and now here it is. The boat is leaving. I was supposed to do this thing. I was supposed to do that thing, but I didn't do it. You know, or I did it halfway and failed halfway, and used that as an excuse to verify that it wasn't going to work. You know, so does anyone like have any experiences with that? Like you knew what you were supposed to do, but you did it halfway, and because you did it halfway, you missed out on the whole blessing. You know, I've had several instances where it's almost like the opposite. Like because I did what I was supposed to do, no matter how things seem to be off, everything still lined up. You know, that I've had that happen to me as well. So you know, you could comment on either or. Like even though you feel like you're late or you're not on time, because you're being obedient, everything still lines up. You know, you think you missed your flight. That happened to me on the way to the retreat. I missed the flight because I was like I wanted to make sure everything was moving the way it was supposed to. I missed the flight. Got on what was it? I got on like another flight on standby. Then I went to go on that flight. That flight was canceled. Then I got on another flight. That one was delayed. And I got on another flight, which didn't happen until the next day. So I got comped at a hotel. It's like a long story, but it's like, okay, where you taking me? You know, I didn't even know these roads existed. I got to see a whole extra state I wasn't planning on seeing. But it's like, that's the thing about the journey. There's so many more possible things than what our linear earthly brains can even fathom. You know, there's so many possibilities, but we cancel all of those out with our fear and our tension. You know, like Akira Eden was talking about earlier, having a body full of tension also locks up your ability to hear that vision. You know, if you're not really reconnecting, you know, if you're not really taking the time out to get some of the sludge off of you from your 6 days of external work, you can definitely miss the boat, or you can definitely miss the flight, because everything is muffled. It's like womp, 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 womp. You know, it's like Charlie Brown. You can't hear what's going on with the Most High is telling you. It's not that he ever stopped speaking. It's just either you stop listening, or maybe your ability to listen is muffled by wax. You know, you got to clean your ears up in a sense. But yeah, man, sounds like self-sabotage. Exactly. In my talk, yes. Sounds like self-sabotage. But yeah, man, there's a lot that was covered. Like I didn't even get too much into the breakdown of Kama Sutra, which was another thing where you know, a lot of things could have went differently if people just like had sense. Low-key, I disliked the movie the first time I watched it. Like not even low-key. I disliked the movie the first time I watched it. I was actually going to recommend it to someone, but I watched it first. I didn't finish it, and then I went back to watch it, and everyone was just as annoying. But there is like there are jewels in there, like there are gems in there when you learn about Kama Sutra, and you know, you get some of the game that's not about sex, you know, and you get a sense of what could go wrong if you don't do things the right way, if you don't stand on your principles, if you don't go back to the source material and actually study it the way that it was laid out for you to study, you know. So yeah, that was pretty much what I really, really wanted to get into, just the aspect of revision, you know, always going back, checking the vision, checking the original source material, on the radio says, Ken, I have done a half-ass job. Mr. Blessing, an example is with school. Yeah, you know, yeah, yeah, it does happen. It does happen that way. I missed the boat with school as well. I could have actually went to school a lot earlier, but I didn't believe, didn't believe that the money would have been there for me to go to school. So I did like a half-ass job applying, and then I stopped halfway, you know, and here I am now, over a decade later, going back and doing what I should have done like years ago. You know, okay, Sam, we talk to your speakers. Yeah, that school thing. Yeah, man. And that's the thing too. That's another thing that Tifa touched on in that vision video. That's like that command the day segment. You sort of tack on what you think is possible to the vision, and you compare it. You know, most I tell you one thing, and you're like, but I don't think that's possible. So you just stop doing it. You know, it's like someone tells you some good news, and you're like, I don't believe you. It's like, no, I just found, you know, I just found a duffel bag of money in the bush. You know, let's split it. It's like, whatever. And you just walk off and keep doing your thing. It's almost like that insane. You know, you see someone come to you and they tell you like, this is a lit. Like, we can actually move forward with what we need to do. We can make our lives less stressful. And it's like, I don't believe you. And then you just walk off. You know, but yeah, man, those are some of the things that I wanted to build on. Let me make sure, check my notes, and see if there was anything else that I may be forgetting. Oh, yeah, there was actually something that I thought was interesting, even with the bill on first day, right? With the mana principle, and then the strong before we had Ima Yakira Eden's Alpha Woman Without Doubt. You know, and in that one, when I went back to listen to it, Chief had said something about not something about it, it was a very key piece when we were talking about, you know, what we thought an alpha was. And Chief had brought up that the alpha is like the beginning of a thing, right? So it's like the beginning of a line from the Most High. So you can have multiple alphas around, but it's just like it's the beginning of this peace Hamza El, peace brother Hamza. It's the beginning of a stream of cognition. So you have the Most High, and then you have the concept of Aleph, right? Or Alpha or Aleph. You know, you're yoking yourself to the Most High. And that particular stream that you have, or the vision that you've been given, once you're living that out, you know, you become like the archetype for that village or your community. You know, so you can have an alpha who's a fisherman, you can have an alpha who's a swordsman, an alpha who's an inventor, you know, or like he brought up Steve Urkel. You know, you don't see any Steve Urkels. You know, you don't see any more Steve Urkel. You can't like make a fictional character without me thinking of Steve Urkel. You know, a black genius who's a nerd. You got to think of Steve Urkel. You can't leave him out. You know, it's similar to that. So even with that, just moving with a sense of surety, you know, and not being lukewarm in your conviction or how you yoke yourself to the vision. You know, that is another key. Trailblazing, right? Yeah, but being sure of what it is that you're doing and everything that you're doing. That was like our theme for the strong, like not like looking things in the eye. That was the way that I put it in House of Smith. Like just looking things in the eye. If you see something as something, then don't look away from it, or don't act like you don't see it, or like something didn't happen. Just look something in the eye and call it for what it is. And if something comes to you, and it's coming to you in an off way, look it in the eye and let it know like, nah, this is this is how I'm moving. You know, so there's a there's a clip of an old lady that I saw on Instagram, and she was like, someone asked her, "What's the secret to a long life?" And she was like, "Put God first, and I'm not gonna say it here. Get someone that you get F every night." And everybody's like, "Oh!" And she was like, "Y'all didn't hear the question," you know. And the sister who asked the question explained, like, "No, that was the question. That was the question. That was her answer to the question. You know, what's the secret to long life?" And she's like, "Yeah, God comes first, and get you someone who you can love on." You know, and she started reminiscing. You see her close her eyes and going back to the good old days. And so the one who asked the original question, so she's like, um, so you think people with a lot with people who are single won't live as long? And she's like, I doubt it. You know, I doubt it. And she had said something else, and the other sister was making someone else was making on, and she's like, "You're gonna have to leave, honey, because this is the way I roll." You know, and that was like the icing on the cake for me. Because it's like a reminder for me, like a tape I could play in my mind anytime there's some doubt going on. You know, if the Most High is the voice that I'm listening to, and that's the vision that I'm tethered to, then anything else, it's like you don't have to leave. This is how we roll it. You know, it has to be like that. It can't be like lukewarm, because like Proverbs was saying, you know, a righteous man despises wickedness, and a wicked man despises righteousness. You can't sit in the middle. There's no way to two-step around it. You know, so yeah, that was the build. You know, that was what I wanted to build on. But it was not just me. I'm just the one on camera. Is there anything that anyone else wants to share or add on or build with? You know, because this is fellowship, right? So I'll leave some time for the alleged delay. You know, for you all to respond. But yeah, man, we've been having some good responses on Instagram. You know, give thanks for everyone liking and sharing and commenting and saying how they see today's map. You know, definitely encourage more of that. And we also have Clubhouse tomorrow, right? We have our Clubhouse build tomorrow at 12. We have Anu Radio at 9 a.m. And our next Strong's Build movie breakdown. I can't remember which one. One of the sisters can put it in the chat. Whichever sister was taking over. You know, I think it was Maleficent, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, we have Sister Sovereign Eats coming back that strong um, for our next fellowship. You know, our next build. If you wanted to be a part of ANU, you know, you can go to ANU Life Global Ministries, anulifeglobal.org, and you can sign up for the men's or women's ministry. Okay, Maleficent. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering if that was her. Okay, so we have Sister Yamina, who's coming in with Maleficent. Okay, representing for House of Smith. Yes, Clubhouse's first day. And we are both Anu Radio Clubhouse, Clubhouse build. I'm not sure which one of us is building tomorrow. So you can put it in the chat as well. But we often have our midday build after we have our early day jam session with Anu Radio. You know, and we also have our blog, right? Our Anu blog. So last strong, our blog was on the law, right? And again, we're dealing with going back to the source, you know. So last strong, we had the law, and this strong, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what our blog team cooks up. Okay, so Akoti Yafi is talking about levity of the heart. All right, cool. That's gonna be a fun breakdown with the Mesu. Yeah, man. Yeah. Let's see what we got going on here. Ramik, I literally relate with the brothers in my experience. Ramik, where you come from, man? I asked you like half an hour ago. um, okay, Ramik says, I literally relate with the brothers in my experience, but in difference, I would say I've learning to move according to the ways of the Most High Yah. Okay, so you're learning to move a little differently, and you relate to the brothers. Well, that's good. You know that camaraderie is definitely needed. All right, so with that, you know this is Master Menelik signing off. Give thanks for everyone for riding with me. Okay, Ramik has more, and Chief says I would just add to the bill that the work of spiritual consciousness is what purifies the vision. The conscious must become unpolluted in order to clarify our relationship with the divine. All right, give thanks for that. Give thanks for that. It reminds me of Build Destroy, you know, and we didn't get into the supreme alphabet yet on Instagram, but you have the letter D as well, divine or destroy. You know, you have to destroy what is not divine in order to, you know, build with the Most High. Chief also says when we revision others, we clarify our perception of their status in the eyes of the Creator, regardless of what social or governmental designs would prescribe. When we revision others, we clarify our perception of their status in the eyes of the Creator, regardless of what social or governmental designs would prescribe. Is that like not being a respecter of persons? You know, like how they would tell the judges in Israel, like, don't be a, who was it? It was in Second Chronicles. I'm forgetting the name, but it was one king who was like, there was another king who was trying to get him to go to war with him, and they were like, they had gathered like 400 prophets, and they was like, yeah, go to war. You know, the Lord would deliver them into your hand. And then there was one, there was the second king was like, all right, I'll go to war with you, but is this all the prophets? You know, who else is there? And he was like, oh, well, there's this other prophet, but I don't like going to him because he will never tell me nothing good. He will never give me no good news. So he's like, well, you gotta bring him, you know. So they brought him, and he's like, yeah, if y'all go out there, y'all will be shattered, like y'all could be scattered like a flock without a shepherd. And he's like, see, I told you. But yeah, that's what happened. You know, so after that, the first king, I think it was, I don't want to jack up the names. I don't want to mix up the names. But this is Second Chronicles, I think, 18. That's actually okay. So it actually is being a respecter of person by way of employing the inner eye that has been cleaned through continual spiritual exercise. Okay. So you are looking again. You're like looking in the eye. You're looking at what's you know what's in front of you, as opposed to what you were told to see. You know, this is a great. This is one of our greatest leaders ever. You know? Jehoshaphat. Okay, that was the king, and Ahab was the one who was trying to get him to go to war. You know, Ahab died, Jehoshaphat survived, but he was like, yeah, like y'all don't be judging people based on their status, or don't be looking at people like you're a respectable person. But it's like don't judge people based on your perception of them. You gotta look at what the Most High looks at them as. You know, you judge based on what Yah tells you, not based on what your physical eyes see. Ramik said, oh, this is a continuation. I've learned to move in love, courage, and honor. I also learned to break down the meaning of words. Yeah, that's something that you definitely, that's like fundamental, you know. And again, the revision is important because I messed that up during the study session. Might be prepared from lack of knowledge, right? This experience has taught me to speak, um, to seek the Most High and His statutes. Um, okay, I think that's it. But yeah, that add-on definitely brought up that verse in Second Chronicles 18, and I think um the whole thing goes on to chapter 20, between 18 and 20. That was something that I built on last Shabbat. So when it says that relates to the points you make through episode 75. 75. Okay. I think it was 66. It says on chronic toxicity, a healthy 65. Okay. On chronic toxicity, a healthy temple will be a reflection of the clean spiritual vessel, right? Right. And it's difficult to have like a healthy temple if you're surrounded by that chronic toxicity, or you're always in contact with all of these chemicals, you know. And we grown to see them as like essential. Like, what am I gonna do without plastic forks and spoons? Like, I gotta wash dishes every night. Some people buy those things so they can avoid washing dishes. Imagine that. You're poisoning yourself just to avoid a little bit of work. You gotta pay for that hospital bill there. Then at the end of it, she was like, he didn't even touch on pharmaceuticals. So that's like another rabbit hole. But yeah, man, definitely give thanks to everybody coming through. Willfully, it was helpful. 66, this. Willfully, it was helpful and edifying. You were able to build with each other. So like a couple of you building with each other in the chat, which is good, you know, because it's fellowship, you know. So definitely give thanks. And willfully, you have a restful Shabbat. All right. Peace, everyone. Shabbat shalom. Yep, and plastic plates. Peace. Oh, I'm sorry. Who doesn't like washing dishes? Okay, you trying to extend this. All right. So who doesn't like washing dishes? Nobody likes washing dishes. You know, everybody's like, people have divorces over washing dishes, but it's not about washing dishes. But yeah, so I'm getting into that. Give thanks, everyone. Peace and enjoy the Sabbath.